Hey Sky fam, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Aurora Rose, and today I wanted to update y'all and let y'all know that Delta Airlines applications for flight attendants are open. So skip, jump, run to put in this application. If this is your dream airline, if you're going from mainline to mainline, if you want to jump up from regional to mainline, if you're making an entire career change, this would be the most opportune time to do it while the applications are open. You never know how long the applications are going to be open for. It could be 24 hours, it could be 3 days, it could be a week. You don't know. As soon as they hit that quota of applicants, then they close it, and we don't know when they reopen it. So if you're considering it, just throw your application in there. But before you do that, let's talk about a few things. A few things are important to have in your resume, to put in your application, even your cover letter if you choose to have one. So let's talk about it. The application that is currently open is for bilingual speakers of no particular language and LOD, language of destination. That's basically just for English speakers. Don't feel like that's not you. If you want to be a regular, you only speak one language, English, flight attendant, LOD is what Delta is gonna call it. So when you go online, I will put the link to the application in the description box below. So if you see this and it's soon after I upload it, definitely click on it, check out all the requirements and things like that. If you are thinking about this opportunity. I have gone through the entire Delta hiring process, and so when I say these things, just know that I know what I'm talking about. Going through their basic minimum requirements, you have to be eligible to work in the US. So that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a US citizen particularly, but you need to be eligible to work in the US. You need to be at least 21 years old, and you need to be 21 years old when you put in the application. It used to be you just had to be 21 by the time you finished training or you started training, one or the other, but you need to be 21 when you apply at this point. You need to have your GED or your high school diploma. You do not need a college degree, but it is an additional asset almost. It does put you maybe closer to the running if you do have a college degree, but it is not required. You do not have to have a passport in hand already, but by the time you go to training, you will have to have your passport, and you probably need to show documentation that you have either paid for or have filed to have a passport by the time you go to training, especially if you get your final interview. I would bring that documentation to the face-to-face as well if you don't already have it in your possession. But if you're looking to possibly get into this industry, I would without a doubt go ahead and just get your passport, because it is a required item. You need to have it on every single flight that you fly, even if it is domestic. You will do a complete drug screening if you get to a certain point in this hiring process. That means background checks, fingerprints, and a full-blown drug test. I had someone ask me the other day if I know if it's a 5-panel or 10-panel drug test, and the answer is no, I do not. What I will say is that if you're taking a prescription drug, that should be disclosed to the company before testing, even if it is legal in your state, but it's not something that's legal federally, then it doesn't matter. We are federal employees, and so we have to adhere to that, not state legislation, okay? Or just stop doing whatever you're doing. The rest of the requirements go into basically the company's mission, being able to interact and work with people of diverse cultures, being able to put security and safety at the forefront of everything you do, whether it's private, personal, or business, things of that nature, being able to put something in the overhead bin, being able to fit comfortably in the jump seat and through the exits, things like that, still are in the minimum kind of requirements for the job. What will take you above the rest kind of is if you do have a college degree and if you're of experience with, it says something similar to those of a flight attendant. And so this is what that really means. If you have done anything in hospitality, put it on your resume and count it towards your years of experience. If you were a server for 3 months and then you worked at a hotel front desk for 6 months and you were a bartender for 2, you have a year of experience, okay? All I'm saying is anything that you've ever done in hospitality ever, it doesn't have to be being a flight attendant, if you've ever done anything in hospitality, put that on your resume. Show them that you know how to work with people. I was a waitress for 4 months before I applied to my first flight attendant position, and I actually think that it made me a higher option because it showed that I could handle multiple people in one place and make sure that I can care for them in a safety-esque manner. But there's like timeliness that's in part of that. There's so much that comes with being a server that sometimes people don't think that that's beneficial to you. But anything you've done in food and bev or hospitality at all, put it on there. And when you're structuring your resume, I can do a whole nother video like going far more into detail about what your resume and cover letter should look like. And if that's something that y'all want, y'all can definitely put it in the comment section below. But I will say your biggest points is obviously your job history. You want to have at the top, you want to have keywords and action words starting every single bullet points. And if you have volunteer work, I would include it on there, especially if it's relative. But your education, you can actually put at the bottom. If you have your degree, that's great that you have your degree. It's not required by the company, but it's still good for them to know, but it's not the number one thing that they need to know. So it actually could go at the bottom. You want to show your skill set throughout your resume, and you're going to use those with certain words. If you're going to put a cover letter, you do not need to use a cover letter, but if you do, for the love of God, Delta Airlines is 3 words. Delta Airlines. It is not Delta Airways. It is not Delta Airlines in 1 word. It is 3 words. Please make it 3 words. Do not make that very trivial mistake because it is something. Aside from that, once you put in your application, pretty quickly, in my experience, and from what I've heard from recent applicants as well, pretty quickly, if you're going to get through the next stage, you will get your assessment. Your assessment is going to be stage 2. There's going to be about 4 stages in the hiring process, which is pretty typical amongst airlines. If this is going really fast and you're super quick in the selection process, you could possibly get your face-to-face within a month. Okay, that's probably the quickest it'll happen. I got hired by my first airline in 4 days. That is not the typical. That is not the norm. We were going through a crazy time in the world, and the hiring frenzy was ridiculous. And yeah, when I got hired by my current airline, it took 6 months. Okay, which actually is kind of normal. So short end of this, I would estimate about 1 month. On the average end of it, you could see up to 3 or 4 months. And on the long end of it, I would say 6. I know it's a crazy range to say 1 to 6 months to get hired by a company, but I mean, it's true. Also, if you don't get an email immediately for an assessment, that doesn't necessarily that you're not getting offered the position. But I will say, I want to be very candid and very honest with you all. If you don't get an assessment right away, wait till the next day. And if you still haven't received anything from them, just double check and look over your resume, look over what you wrote in your application. For anyone that's applied to Delta before, they have decreased the amount of months it takes to reapply. So if you have applied over 3 months ago for March and you didn't get the position, you can reapply at this point, okay? It's only 3 months at this point. So if you are dead set on this being your airline, I literally know people that have applied to this airline 6 times until they got the job. It's just one of those airlines. It's a legacy airline. It's one of the big 3. It's a huge airline. It is something to be proud of to be at that airline, for sure. If you're dead set on this being your forever airline, go ahead and apply and look thoroughly before you put your resume in. Look thoroughly through their criteria and their job description, and look at the key messaging and the key words used in them, and make sure that your resume reflects what the job description is. You get what I'm saying here? Okay, so yeah, that's all I want to say. Let y'all know, if y'all apply, You don't have to put it in the comment section if you don't want to, but feel free to shoot me a DM. I also have calls that I can schedule with you all through my website. If you have any questions about this portion of the career, best of luck to you all, and hopefully I see you in the skies. Bye.